Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and being a producer of Wrestle Massacre as well as Inside Movies Galore, I am David Strege, and welcome to Delusions of Grandeur. Enjoy the reviews. I certainly did.
Okay, Dave, that's it. Screw you and your college flunkies. I've had enough of this from you and from everyone else. I know what you guys are trying to do. Break me down, drive me out of the force. Well, it's going to take a hell of a lot more than a lame prank like this to get Curtis Mooney to throw in his badge, so fuck you. Over.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Delusions of Grandeur. I'm your host, David Strege, and here I have another review for you, this time of the first film on the set of the American Horror Project Volume 2. And this film is from 1970. It is the strongest film out of all six films that were put out on these two Arrow sets, at least in my mind. It is the one that I will remember vividly because of its subject matter. In the very beginning, we get an orphan Annie kind of a scene where a young girl has been placed in a foster care, thinking that her daddy will return to her someday. And I seem to remember that the orphanage lady, she was almost kind of cruel to her at first, for crying out in the middle of the night. And so you get a very solemn, very somber beginning. And from what I understand, this film was directed by John Hayes. And from what else that I understand is that supposedly this film is in retrospect a slight autobiographical film about some of John Hayes' earlier life, because he'd grown up in an orphanage, and certain things happened in here that may have happened to him. But as we progress in this film, the little girl grows up, and the little girl is Grace McDonald, and played as an adult by Brooke Mills, and she works as a a carnival pastor's assistant in Saving Souls with Reverend Paul Jesse Bundy, played by Michael Pataki. And the thing that I find odd about this earlier scene with her being this assistant is she actually has to climb very high on a pole and just kind of fall onto a mat. So in a sense, it's helping people believe that they are saved by seeing her fall from such a height. And ultimately, she is evidently engaged to the Reverend's brother, who is a medical student slash doctor, Dr. Patrick Bundy. And while he goes away to school or to a hospital of some sort to go and be doctor, she gets a call from a funeral director who is also a pimp for uh, older hookers, and says that he has in fact found her father, and her father has in fact died. But when she gets to the funeral parlor, she wishes that her father was alive, and no sooner has she has said this, his he gets up and kills the undertaker slash pimp, and she goes off and lives with him in an abandoned complex, and she imagines a life with her dad that she never had before. And she, in fact, thinks that her father is actually murdering the people in her in her life. There is a murder with a skiff that is kind of a funny thing. There is a dinner of a duck that is kind of peculiar. Um, there are some odd things in this film, but I think this film works rather well. Some of the acting is a little phony, but there is several dreamlike sequences that almost seem like whoever directed this was on acid, because there is a moment where she does a bit of dancing for her slightly Irish father, um, who is played by um, Edmund O'Brien very well. He brings out the accordion, and he has a kind of a violence to him, in a sense, if and a controlling nature, so to speak. But it's kind of a turnaround of events, because the movie makes you believe that her father is in fact alive, and yet, um, spoiler alert, the killer, the real killer is in fact Grace herself in the end, and we see that it is because when the engaged doctor comes with his new significant other to tell her that he no longer um, wants a relationship with her. She goes off the deep end, and we there is a psychologist that is evidently sent out to the place that kind of shows that she kind of went mad, and found all these bodies that were part of the murder spree. So not only did the Reverend Jesse get murdered in the barn, so did the sheriff. And the sheriff actually shows up a couple of times. He actually really believes in the Reverend Jesse's miracle workings. So he's actually kind of lighthearted about that affair, uh, at least from what I can understand. So I believe that this is the strongest film out of all of these, by far, probably the most entertaining, um, with the psychosis that has gone on in this film. This film has also been known as The Faith Healer, and it's also been known as Now I Lay Me Down to Die. If you really want to know anything more about the film, Um, so those are some of the other titles that have um, uh, the film was produced by Clover Films, and Kit Parker Films, ABR Home Entertainment Company, Active Home Video, Star Classics Video. Some of these were on VHS. UK VHS, Edel Media and Entertainment in Germany, Active Home Video in Germany, in West Germany on VHS, VCI Home Video in 2008 on DVD, and so on and so forth. So I thought that this film was actually pretty decent. Um, some of the taglines of this: the face of an angel, the body of a woman, but evil in every way. So, I thought that this film holds up. I liked the colorings of the film. I just like the oddity of it. I mean, to me, it felt like a dream world, a kind of existence with the time with her father. Because at one moment you're seeing the abandoned building, the next she's starting not to believe that she's living with her father. Then suddenly her father appears. So, in any case, hopefully you enjoyed my description of this film. Like and subscribe to my page if you have not. Definitely check out some of my other reviews. I'll definitely have some more cool stuff coming up. I'm glad that I was able to go on about this film and bring you my thoughts. Just go out and see the film yourself. If anything, it's on the American Horror. Um, um, the American Horror. Um, Project Volume 2. I guess that's a film poster for it. So is this. But I thought that the death with a skiff and having an axe in it were kind of interesting for murder weapons. In any case, thank you for listening. Have a great day, evening, or morning, wherever you are. Appreciate your time spent on this page. And I'm glad that I was able to go on about this film. I just want people to know about these films in my perspective. So thank you so much for the traffic ahead of time.
You were good, kid. Real good. But as long as I'm around, you'll always be second best, see?